Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of the Weekend Crusaders. My name's Sean Wassacroot. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. We're back. We had a nice little vacation. We needed it after our last episode. Brian, have you completely recuperated from the all stinker episode?
You can't recuperate from that. There's permanent damage done by that episode.
Let's put it this way. There's so much permanent damage that I think it was like at 1:30 in the morning. I'm trying to go to bed because I have to work in the morning. And Brian messages me going, hey, let's watch all the spoof films. And I'm like, are you fucking out of your mind?
Come on, epic movie, date movie. Come on, let's do them all.
Are you out of your mind? And he's like, I think we should totally do it. And I'm like, I'm trying to go to bed. Shut up with this nonsense. Like,
Instead, you had nightmares.
Oh God, yes. So apparently there are some lingering pains that we're gonna have from that all secret episode. Plus, obviously the backlash and the Napoleon Dynamite, which we're fine for. I mean,
if we lost viewers, you're not viewers we wanted. So.
No, and literally, I think it was 2 nights ago. We literally did the exact same thing that we've said that everyone does.
Again.
The exact same thing. We bring up that we bash Napoleon Dynamite, and the first words out of their mouth is, Tina, get you do whatever that fucking quote is. And I'm just like, you guys are like everyone else. Like, just because you quote the movie doesn't make it funny. Yeah. But
we have a great list of movies to help us recover.
We're in September now.
Yes.
We've got, shockingly, in my opinion, this month is better than everything that we did last month.
Oh, yeah.
Would you agree with that?
This month is better than most months.
Yes. We were going through, we weren't expecting it to. We're like, I love this month. Like, this is a great month. We got a great show today. Next week's show, I'm super excited about. Next week's show is going to be awesome. But we got 5 new movies to talk about that came out during September 10th through the 12th. Yes, there will be a stinker because we had to have 1 stinker, but no more 5 stinkers. I remember people were asking, can we just do an all stinker show? Like a show about stinkers. And I think we answered that question. No, we're not doing that.
No.
We don't have the longevity and the mental capacity and just the will.
We can handle 1 a week, and occasionally one will unexpectedly be a second one in that week, but that's it.
We can't forcibly make us watch more than 2 stinkers a week. We will crack. We just can't do it. Without getting paid. But we are starting this week off with our feature film. This is a first for the Weekend Crusaders. This was a gamble for us. This is the first time that we picked a feature that I had not seen. I have never seen this film. I said this 2 weeks ago when we had our last episode. This is the movie. I have tried to watch this film like 10 times. I tried to watch it in theaters. I tried to watch it when it came out. I tried to watch it when it was on TV. Every single time I try to watch this film, something in my life comes in the way, and I end up not going to go see it, or not getting to sit down and watch it, or I miss the recording of it, or something like that. Until this week, I was shocked that I thought this was the Revisited, because I was like, there's no way we would make this the feature without me seeing it first. But apparently we did it because Brian was so strongly about, you're gonna like this, I like it, so we're gonna make the feature. Because that's the only way I can think of that we made this feature, is that you had to have backed this so much that
I don't remember how we decided what's what. I just knew that it was good. And
I had not seen this film. But we are talking about the 2004 thriller Cellular. Cellular came out September 10th, 2004, had a budget of $25 million, had a weekend opening of $10.6 million, which was number 2 its opening weekend behind Resident Evil Apocalypse, in my opinion, the only good Resident Evil movie, and had a finished box office of $57.67 million, $32 million domestic, and $25.67 million international. Since I have not seen this before, I'm going to let Brian start it off. So go ahead.
So this is a movie that I went into with actually no expectations, really. I mean, I watched the trailers and they looked intriguing, but I'm like, it's a fairly original premise. You know, it's the kind of thing that, you know, it's almost Hitchcockian in ways, but, you know, with a modern era and modern technology kind of thing. It's a different kind of thriller. And I went and saw this with no expectations, and I just really enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I thought that it was I thought it was well constructed as a thriller. I thought that it kept you excited, but it's got some humor sprinkled throughout it. It's like I said, it's kind of an original premise. It's not really quite like anything you've seen before. Um, I really enjoy the cast they put together. You got Chris Evans, who this is like I want to say his like third movie.
He's an unknown. I think the only thing he's done at this point was like not another teen movie, and I think A Perfect Score. This is before Fantastic Four. He's a relative
this is basically his first serious role, yes. And I think this kind of maybe paved the way. They could see you could do action, which then got him Fantastic Four, which then went on to Losers and stuff, and then eventually Captain America. So I think that this kind of showed people that he could do more than just be the goofy.
I almost forget that Chris Evans was young once because he plays that Steve Rogers character with such oldness, like an old man kind of thing. And that's not a bad thing. I mean that in a good way. But it's like I forget because I'm not another teen movie fan like you are, so I don't watch young Chris Evans that much. So when I see a movie like this, I'm like, man, he was young once. But continue.
But yeah, no, he was young and fun in this. He gets to reunite with Eric Christian Olsen, also from Not Another Teen Movie.
We always like
seeing him pop up and stuff. We talked about Fired Up earlier this year.
Yes.
You got Kim Basinger, who obviously had kind of had her thing in like the 80s and early 90s, came back big time when she, got Oscar for LA Confidential. And then she didn't really seem to do a whole lot after that. Then she kind of came back in this. I thought she was actually very good in it. And of course, Jason Statham, one of his earlier.
Also, relative for the most part, unknown at this point too, was Statham.
Yeah, I mean, he had done a couple Guy Ritchie movies. He had appeared in a couple. I think it was in Jet Li's The One or War, one of those movies, and a few other things. But this is still early in his career, though. But it just so from top to bottom, I enjoyed the cast of this movie. But yeah, Jessica Biel has a small part in it. I'm kind of not sure why she's in this.
That shocked me when she popped up. I was like, "You didn't tell me Biel was in this movie," and then she's in like 3 scenes.
I forgot she was in it because she's barely in it. So I don't know if like she, just knew the director or something. I don't know why, because it's not a big enough role to entice an actor to be a part of it. But it's not like anything that classifies as a cameo either. I'm just like, I don't know. But she pops up in it. But yeah, this is just a solid thriller in my opinion. It's kind of it's the kind of thing that, like I said, it's almost like you see a lot of modern day thrillers are geared more toward older audiences. This one has a little bit of a younger skew to it, just because of the subject matter and cellular and all that.
Yeah. And I looked it up. Statham. This is when Statham was starting to get hot because he had just did Transporter. He had just did Italian Job.
Oh yeah, I had done Italian Job. Okay,
he had just did because this is 2004. Italian Job and Transporter were 2002, 2003. So Statham was getting that about to bust out part. Yeah.
But this is the first time you saw it. What did you think?
This is one of those movies where I don't want to age us, but it's one of those things where I was just like, wow, I remember when cell phones used to suck. It's like I don't think younger kids like under 16 and stuff can watch this now and understand how the cell phones work back then, because I feel like with 16-year-olds and younger, and I'm sorry if you guys get offended by this, you either have the modern tech the way it is now where texting and everything was a legit thing, or you have the movies where cell phones weren't around and you had the
just wall phones and things.
Exactly. So having this like in between where like 2004 when like cell phones really were starting to do stuff, and have it just be straight up phone calls and that's it, and having to deal with the battery going out
you go in the stairwell, you lose reception.
Exactly, lose the reception when he's in the stairwell of the police station. And he has to stay.
Oh, look at this technology! I can take a picture on my phone now.
Him freaking out when they're about to go into the tunnel and shit. And it's just like, yeah, they don't understand that. Like they don't like the worst thing that happens is they get a dead spot now. But even then, the way the towers are, rarely should that happen. Right. But the whole time watching this movie, I was like,
especially in LA.
I remember those days.
Yeah,
those days sucked. I was like really just watching and going, they are really like they couldn't do this film today. They couldn't, because you have pings, you have GPS, you have all this stuff. You could
half the suspense is the risk of losing the call.
Well, yeah, because she's using the old tech, he's using the new tech, and literally, if you get hung up on, it's game over. and like there's certain situations where it's like, oh, in modern day they could have just done this and that would have made things so much easier.
Well, I've actually heard people criticize this movie saying that it's dated because of that kind of thing, but I'm like,
that doesn't dated. That makes it
yes, it dates it. It says this is an era in time, but it doesn't make it a bad movie. That's like saying any movie that doesn't have computers, like something that took place in the 1800s, is dated. Yes, it's dated because it's a snapshot of that moment in time.
No,
it's not a bad thing.
This is like a kind of like how like phone booth was, where it's like payphone kind of thing. This was a like kind of perfect pocket of technology time with a cell phone. They realized, I think the directors is like, look, cell phones are big, cell phones are huge. What happens if this happens? And the whole movie is wrapped around this cell phone. Yep. And obviously, and then like also crossing signals, like that one part with the lawyer and the phone calls being crossed. I've had that happen before, and that is weird when that shit happens back then. And then him, like the movie transferring through that, like I was watching this going, oh fuck, I remember when my phones used to do that shit. Now phones are just annoying in a whole other different kind of form or fashion. But I think Chris Evans did great. I was immediately annoyed and pissed off when Eric Christian Olsen and Jessica Biel were not used to their full potential in the film. Eric Christian Olsen still has the best laugh of the entire film. Hey, did you hear about a whale's penis? I was like, that's why he's in the movie right there. Statham, I think this is why I didn't think Statham was a big actor yet. He's kind of just like the quiet bad guy in the film. But I mean, Statham's being Statham. I mean, he's not doing his martial arts badassery kind of thing. He's just kind of being that intimidating goon thing. Kim Basinger, she does best scream and yell and act terrified. I mean, if you've ever seen Batman, you guys know, that's what she does best. I think the intensity, the thriller aspect of the film works really well. They did kind of paint themselves in a corner with the whole cell phone, but because of the technology and the way they do it, they make it work. Does Chris Evans gonna get away with a lot of shit in this movie? Sure. Absolutely. I don't think he would. I think he would have been caught a long time ago. But
the funny part of that is there's only one part that I really wanted to point out was towards the end of the movie when they want to bring William H. Macy to the pier because they're like, hey, we know he's at the pier, but nobody can ID this guy, so we need you to come down. It's like, didn't they just show him on TV 5 minutes earlier? They say, hey, help us find this person.
Yeah, because he robbed the cell phone shop,
right?
And he's on the security cameras. It's like it's one of those things where same thing with like the goon, like leaving his mic open for anyone to hear, so that way Macy could hear it. I'm just like any person walking by can literally hear you guys' conversation of him saying kill him. Like, come on. Like I get that it's a busy pier. People were like, oh, not paying attention. Like, dude, put on a freaking headphone. Like seriously.
It's a plot device.
Exactly, it's a plot device. But no, I think because it has taken so long for me to watch this, I've been building it in my head. It's like because I've heard nothing but good things about the film. So when I watched it, did I kind of feel like, okay, it's not as good as everyone made it out to be. I do think the kid actor is awful in the film, but kid actors...
you don't see much of him, though.
He's not good. But when he's on screen, I'm like, oh, God, this kid is not good.
Little kid named Ricky Martin for no reason.
Yes, Ricky Martin. Why? Why was that?
There was no reason for that.
Why is that a joke? But yeah, But I mean, like I said, the kid's in like 3-4 scenes, so you really can't judge it for that. But like, same thing with like the airport scene. Like, that would not have like, even, and that's post 9/11. Like they was like, wow, like you really got away with that in the airport, okay. But that same thing with like the kid getting grabbed, like way too easy. Like that kid just got taken. What? Huh? It's like, what? Okay. No. Wow, you guys are doing really good at your job. But no, like it was fun. I enjoyed it. I don't think I liked it as much as I was expecting to like it.
I can see if you got it talked up to you for your first time viewing. I can see how it didn't live up to it.
For 16 years, it's been talked up to me, and I finally watch it because I mean, and here's the part. There's a movie. I can't remember what movie it is. And knowing you probably will know it. And I don't know why my brain went to this. Because clearly, it's not this movie because she's an addict on a like a house phone. Isn't there a movie where I want want to say J-Lo's in it, where she's locked in a trunk and she's been kidnapped and she's calls someone randomly on a cell phone, but she's in a trunk. It might not be J-Lo.
Well, J-Lo in a trunk is out of sight. That's a different thing.
No. The whole premise of the film is that this lady's been kidnapped and she's in the trunk and she randomly calls someone like cellular. And for some reason, my brain was connecting that with this. I was like, no, it's not the same movie. And I don't know what movie it is, and don't waste your time trying to search for it. But like my brain kept like mixing.
It's the call. Abigail Breslin calls Halle Berry's 911 operator.
Thank you. I was like Halle Berry or J-Lo. One of them is in it, and I couldn't remember which one it was. But yeah, like for some reason, my brain was crossing these two films for some weird reason. But no, it was decent. It was decent. I think if we had gone back to this week, like, I don't know what the movies are available for this week right now. Would I have made this our feature? Probably not. It probably would have been in one of the other categories. I probably would have swapped this probably with maybe like my pick.
Yeah, actually, until you said, I didn't even realize this was our featured one.
Yeah.
So I don't have a list in front of me.
It's literally in the center of the post. That means
I didn't realize that you would organize it a certain way.
So I probably would have swapped this with my pick, and my pick would have been the feature. But it's solid. It's solid. If anyone who's never seen Cellular and you want to see a young Chris Evans outside of Not Another Teen Movie, and you want to see how he was pre-superhero, I think this is a good. I would say. Perfect score. It's an ensemble film. Obviously, Not Another Teen Movie is an ensemble film. This is Chris Evans' first time of, you are the lead. This is your movie. Kim Basinger, Jason Statham, William H. Macy, they're there. You literally have to control this film because he doesn't really get to act with anyone. He's having to do all this acting, pretending he's talking to someone on the phone. And I think Chris Evans does this really, really solid job of it, especially for being a young actor who's not as seasoned as like Chris Evans now. Or any other actor at that time. I think he does a really solid job as a young actor, basically having to sell this entire film, talking like this on a cell phone. I think he does a really solid job.
Yeah, no, this is a movie like at the time it came out, it could have just been another forgettable thriller. Yeah. Because I mean, it got a cast in it of not huge stars or anything, but I mean, like you said, going in with no expectations, and I really enjoyed it. The director of it actually is a guy who actually makes. That's where he makes his bread and butter. He's done his name is David Ellis, I think. He's done 2 of the Final Destination movies. He did Snakes on a Plane. He did what was the other one he did? I'm gonna forget that. Oh, Shark Night, which is actually a good shark movie, by the way.
You've told me to watch that. I have not watched it because I thought it looked like.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, I'm talking as shark movies go, as B shark movies go, shark movies. So he does that. He knows how to make movies that are they're not trying to be anything more than they are. They're just fun thrillers and. It works.
I personally like Snakes on a Plane, but I do know that technically it's not a good film, but I do enjoy Snakes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
But yeah, Cellular, it is not on any streaming services currently.
Not at the moment, no.
Usually it's on like FX.
It's one of those that seems like it's always going on and off streaming services. So
yeah,
if not now,
it
will
on
be.
And off everywhere. Yeah. But yes, if you guys want to try to find it, like obviously it's you can rent it on Prime and stuff like that. But feel free to check it out. I think it's a solid thriller. And if you want to see, if you are used to the current cell phone age and you want to see cell phones when they really like pre-text messaging and it's using cell phones for actual cell phones, this is definitely a movie to see exactly the parameters you had to deal with during those days. So definitely check it out. I really made it feel old during this movie or during this conversation. Speaking of old, we're going to our Brian's pick, which is an even older film.
Oh,
no, not you. I'm talking about like what.
Speaking of old, here's Brian's pick.
I'm talking about what they have to do in this movie is very dated. But we're talking about Brian's film. This is a movie that I think you pitched this to me on the show a couple months back. You brought it up. I can't remember, and then I was like, "Have you ever seen this?" I'm like, "I've never seen it." And then I think not even 3 days after you brought it up on the show, like it got brought up like on some podcast thing I was watching. And I was like, okay, well, crap. I guess we're gonna watch this. And then I realized, oh yeah, you had already picked it for your thing. We were talking about another thriller. I'd say like a thriller heist.
It's a comedy, heist, drama, thriller, all kinds of stuff.
The 1992 film Sneakers. Sneakers came out September 11th, 1992, had a budget of $23 million, had a weekend opening of $10.03 million. It was number one its opening weekend, spent 2 weeks at the number one spot. and a finished box office of 105.23 million, 51.43 million domestic, and 53.8 million international. I had never heard of this film. For a movie that made over 100 mil.
You never even heard of it?
I never even heard of it. I don't know why. I mean, it's got Aykroyd, it's got Redford. I mean, it's got Kingsley. Like, I mean, you would think I would have heard of this, but I had never heard of this film. But yeah, this was one of those. I was like, as I was watching, I was like, how have I never heard of this film? But Brian, this is your film, so take it away.
Yeah, this is another one of those movies that's kind of again, I think it's kind of a product of its time, simply because back in like the early 90s, there's a lot of these that I've talked about this before, these kind of mid-budget movies you don't see anymore. Nowadays, you see independent films and you see big blockbusters. And stuff like this is the kind of stuff that ends up going to streaming services or going to VOD and things like that. So you don't get to see this kind of movie a lot. And this is also kind of falls in that late summer, early fall area where they tend to put out more, like as I've said before, like more like adult movies. The Bourne movies come out. Thomas Crown Affair, which just talked about a couple weeks ago, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this definitely kind of falls in that same vein because it's got this cast, which actually is a pretty diverse cast. Because when I went to see it in 1992, I went to see it because I liked River Phoenix. I'm like, hey, he was just.
I honestly didn't know those were River Phoenix until I saw the end credits. I was like, oh shit, that was River Phoenix.
Really?
Wow. Okay. My River Phoenix experience is The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't connect the dots with River Phoenix like most people would. So yeah, I didn't realize it was him until the end credits.
But so I went to see it because I liked him and a lot of the movies he had done, things like that. You know, as you know, I was like 19 at the time, so I'm like, I'm not a big fan of Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier and Ben Kingsley and these people. But I went and saw it, and I just loved the whole cast across the board because these people that you normally think of as being more
prestigious,
serious, prestigious, almost stuffy sometimes. I mean, from a kid point of view, Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier, they were all having just as much fun as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
David Strathairn steals the show as blind.
I was not expecting his performance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this character actor Stephen Tobolowsky, you might know, most people know him from Groundhog Day. He's great in this movie.
I will tell you the first moment of this film when I got excited. Can you guess what it was? When someone popped up on the screen? Because he's not a big part. He's an actor that I love. And when he popped on, I was like, oh!
Trying to remember which one was it.
Let's put it this way. He had long hair, and he's never had long hair. Donald.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Logue. Is it Logue or
Donald Logue?
Donald Logue. When he popped up, I was like, oh, yay! And the way he was talking, I was like, oh, I love this. And then he's barely in the film.
Yeah, he's like, I honestly, when I rewatched it for this, excited. He's the one person I forgot he was even in this movie because he does play a small role, and it's not even the kind of role he normally plays. He's playing a fairly serious role.
I was so into it when he was in there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a whole bunch of actors who I would not have expected to love, but I really just enjoyed everybody's performance in it. I think it's a great balance. It's got, plenty of comedy without being farcical. And then at the same time, there's plenty of drama without being too serious, taking itself too seriously. It's just, I thought it struck a really good balance of genres and tones, which made it a really fun watch. And like I said, I would compare it again to the Thomas Crown Affair because I had that same kind of thing where it's like it's playful in scenes, but it's still there's a serious plot to it. I really believe the relationship between Ben Kingsley and Robert Redford's characters. I thought that was it made sense what they did there. It did Mission Impossible 4 years before Mission Impossible did it, where they had to go through the room. They could only move so fast because they had the motion detectors and the temperature sensors, things like that. But so
that cameo at the end,
and the cameo at the end, yes. So for you again, and that whole scene at the end, with I'll give a list.
Oh, that whole scene, that was the best part of the movie in my eyes. Was that whole end point.
That was a ton of fun. But again, first time viewing. What are your thoughts?
This is one of those films that I was excited to watch. That I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch it right now. But it was after like a long day at work, so in the middle of it, I was starting to just go like.
Oh,
and I was like, I'm not really like enjoying it. Like it's fine. Like as I'm watching, like I know it's a good movie. It's a fine movie. But it's like I'm not like loving the movie. And so it was one of those like, oh man, Brian's gonna be so sad. Just like what I do, it's like because I'm not like loving this. But then it's like I kept like thinking back on it, and it's like I agree. I'm not a, and this is nothing against him. I'm not a Robert Redford fan, because yeah, that's not from our age group. That's not, we didn't really watch his movie. I think the first real movie that I think I really watched, I was like, oh, okay, this is good, was Last Castle, which I love Last Castle, and Redford is the lead in that. And if you guys have never seen Last Castle with Robert Redford, it's fantastic. But like that was, to me, that was my Robert Redford, was that movie. And same thing with Pontier. I never really watched him, and David say his name.
Strathairn.
Yeah, I obviously knew him. I didn't recognize him because he's young. I usually always see him as older. But I mean, I like him, and like I said, I didn't recognize River Phoenix. Obviously Kingsley, I recognized right away. But as I was watching it, I was kind of thinking of more of a toned down, less budget, nerdier version of The Italian Job.
I could see that too. Yeah.
Because David is basically playing Mos Def. I'd say Aykroyd is kind of more Seth Green. Obviously, Kingsley is Edward Norton. Redford is Wahlberg. Obviously, Theron is what's her name?
O'Connell.
Yeah. So I was seeing like it was basically a less bombastic action version of The Italian Job. I think it's solid, and I felt the thing to me is like I felt like it was missing that big ending. Like it was just more conversation than like action kind of thing.
Oh, it's definitely more of a talkie movie.
Yeah, it's more of a psychological like heisting kind of film, which is not a bad thing because as you're watching it, like once the turn or the twist happens, like obviously I was more focused. It was up to that point where I was just like I feel like I'm like either like I'm dozing or I'm not paying attention because I feel like I'm not fully grasping the severity of the film here. But I wasn't hating it. I just wasn't really hooked into it as much as I would have liked to be. I like the characters. There's definitely nothing wrong with the characters. I just think some of the jargon and the plot was a little dry for certain people potentially. It's just one of those like I can see it's a good movie. Like I like it. Like I see the good cast. They're all having fun. Like you said, there's the one scene where they're all dancing with Mary McDowell's character and watching each one of them do their own little version of the dance. I enjoyed that. River Phoenix is the one who was like just doing like the weirdest white boy dance. like and then of course the cameo part at the end I loved. It was just I feel like it has a really dry middle for me. Like I said, the opening I liked how they set it up. The opening I liked that. And then I just felt kind of dry in the middle. And then the third act with the Mission Impossible-esque kind of thing, I enjoyed. And then, of course, like I said, the cameo part or that scene at the end, I really, really liked as well. But yeah, like it was fine. It was fine. I didn't love it like people did, but I didn't hate it. I wasn't disappointed. I just was like, maybe if I was more wide awake for it, maybe I would have felt a little bit more differently. But I mean, I think I gave it like a solid 7. I mean, so it wasn't the worst thing, obviously. I mean, I wasn't, like I said, it was fine.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add for sneakers?
No, not really. It's just if you like, heist films, especially ones that are a little bit more, intelligent and less action oriented.
Yeah.
Which nothing wrong with that. I love action heist films too. I'm saying this is something different. It's a little more
it's
intellectual.
It's very computer-esque heisting. So if you like hacking and being very about the way the world works with the computer age, this is that kind of film. It's not like they're trying to steal gold like an Italian Job or something like that. It's all about the interface.
Which again, the computers they were using in this in 1992 kind of dated this movie too. We got a theme going here.
Exactly. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, you take it as offense like I'm calling you old. I'm talking about the tech they were using was old.
We're doing computer dating. Like, okay.
Oh yeah. I didn't even realize that was a thing back in like 91, 92.
It was, but it was more like message boards kind of thing.
It was just like when that part happened, I was like, is that even around? And I love that Kingsley knew it from that.
It's
I was
like,
like,
the
oh,
computer matched him with her. Something's wrong
no,
here.
something's not right. And of course, Donald Logue popping up. I was like, yay! I was so happy to see him and his accent he was using. I was like, I love him. I wish he would get more. I mean, he's great in everything he's in, and that guy really needs his due.
I love the scene when he's like starts making out with his secretary, whoever she was, and then the guys are all fighting over the camera. Like, who gets to watch?
Yeah, that whole thing. That was him doing the most like Donald Logue could do in the film. Yeah. So that's why I was so enjoyable. And then I would have more to talk about if I could talk about the cameo scene, but I don't want to because it's like that's a great scene. Once again, also Italian Job-esque, where you're like, what would you do if you had the gold and stuff like that? And they're all kind of doing their thing at the end. I like that. That's on HBO Max.
Yes.
If you guys want to check that out. So if you want to see Redford, Sidney Poitier, and all of them basically kind of having fun with like a heist kind of thing, definitely check it out. Like I said, Brian, a lot of other people have spoken very, very highly of the film. Don't base it off of me. I don't think I was.
Sean's in a bad mood today. So.
No, I'm not in a bad mood. I just don't think I was in the right mindset to watch it. I think I was just too tired. But yeah, like I said, it was solid for me. Speaking of not solid, we're going to our stinker film. There are movies where you see the cast, and we've had stinkers like this, where the cast is so good that you get so excited, and then it's a sequel of a film that you love. Yeah, right above Brian's head there. And it's like, okay, it's a sequel of a beloved action film. The cast is amazing. And everyone's back. This is going to be awesome. And it was nothing but the whole way through. And we are talking about the sequel to one of the best action films of the 1990s, Desperado. We're talking about the Stinkfest sequel, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Once Upon a Time in Mexico came out September 12th, 2003, had a budget of $29 million, had a weekend opening of $23.4 million, first its opening weekend, and its only week at number one. Had a finished box office of $98.76 million, $56.35 million domestic, and $42.4 million international. I mean, this movie... I mean, it's like, first off, let's because we weren't able to do it because it didn't fall on our right days. Desperado. If you guys have never seen Desperado is fucking amazing. It is so damn good. It's so good. Antonio Banderas as El Mariachi is perfect. Robert Rodriguez directing it. It is hands down one of my favorite action sequences in movie history. Obviously, the bar scene, which is like not the opening, but it's like in the first act of the film. It is fantastic. You have a young Salma Hayek before she had exploded into who she was. Fantastic, gorgeous in that film. Cheech Marin, not Martin.
Marin. Yep.
Marin. You got Robert. You got Quentin Tarantino in the film. You got
Trejo.
I almost said Machete. Danny Trejo. I'm leaving someone else out. Oh, Buscemi. Buscemi's in it as well. Desperado is great, and we want to emphasize how great Desperado is. I was telling Brian this as we were watching Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I still have the opening song from Desperado on my music tracks because I love that opening number from Desperado. Brian, Desperado for you before we go into the Stinkfest.
Absolutely love Desperado. Desperado is another one of those movies that at the time you kind of heard rumblings like, oh, this movie is done really well in festivals or something. Like, whatever, it's before the internet was even a big thing. But then I went and saw this movie and I was just blown away. I mean, the action in it is so well done, and it's got first of all, it's innovative, and the action is exciting, but there's also plenty of like an element of humor thrown in there quite a bit. Like you said, you got Salma Hayek, who is a good actress, but she also looked amazing. Antonio Banderas. I'm not gay, but I'm sorry, he looked amazing. Just saying, he's a good looking man.
This is I think the second time that we've hot checked Antonio.
I don't care. I don't care. He's a good looking man with long real hair in that movie.
Yes. Yeah, we'll touch on that.
We'll get into that.
There's one part. There's two parts of Desperado that always stand out to me. One is when they're in the middle of the fight scene and they're all about to charge him, and he's like, "Not yet." And then he just stops. And then there's the part where, like, it's a slow-mo, and he's doing like a gun whip.
Like he's doing Wanted, like around the corner.
Exactly. He did it before Wanted. It was like
before Wanted, yeah.
Like I love the like side. Oh,
and then he does the Captain America thing first too. He's like, if you want to go, then go.
You go.
But if you're gonna stay, be cool.
We emphasize how great Desperado is, and is Desperado on Max?
I can find out for you.
Because I would love to get enough people to watch Desperado. Because it is so good. And it's technically the sequel to El Mariachi. Not enough people have seen El Mariachi.
It's one of those that's kind of a sequel / remake of El Mariachi.
Exactly. I'm not saying go out of your way to go see El Mariachi, but
it is on HBO Max.
Go out of your way to see the Desperado. It's on HBO Max. It's fantastic, especially if you like Robert Rodriguez's directed stuff. It is fantastic. Brian
it's still his best movie. His first major movie.
And Zorro. Oh, you're talking about Robert Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'll put it up there with Sin City, but yes. I know you don't like Sin City. I love Sin City. So Desperado and Sin City are like right here. And outside of Zorro, best Antonio Banderas performance, in my opinion, as well. If you don't count like Puss in Boots and stuff. But yeah, we emphasize how much we love that film because that is how excited we were.
No, because even more excited because you had Desperado is what it was.
Yes.
And then you added in names like Johnny Depp and Eva Mendes and Willem Dafoe and Mickey Rourke. I don't care about,
but still Mickey Rourke. And then for me, oh God, what's his name? We were just talking about him. Ruben Blades.
Ruben Blades,
who I love from Fear the Walking Dead. Obviously, he was not in that when that came out, but still, I really enjoy that actor. And
so you took what already was going to be a great sequel, you assume,
even Mendes
added even more great stuff to it.
Even Mendes is hot off of Too Fast, Too Furious and all that. You got Johnny Depp who just got done with Pirates. Like, he's riding that incredible high, and then you're throwing him into the Desperado world. Like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Oh my God, this movie is boring. It's aimless. It's not fun. It's just, there's no humor. I think there was one part in the movie where you and I actually laughed. It was the same scene. We both laughed at the same scene. And it was when Johnny Depp told a kid to get the fuck out of here. But there's too many characters, and the plot is that was the great thing about Desperado. It was a straight up revenge film. He wants revenge on the bad guy because he killed his wife. Boom, and he's on a mission. That's the plot for Desperado. This is also kind of the plot for Once Upon a Time in Mexico for his character, but then you add this whole CIA, FBI overthrowing a president and all this blah 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 crap that has nothing to do with Antonio Banderas, and you just don't care. I don't know how many scenes. There's at least 4 or 5 scenes we have to have Johnny Depp just sitting at a table, bullshitting with whoever, and talking about food or just trying to be the coolest motherfucker in the room. And it's just boring nonsense. And it's not Depp's fault. Depp's doing what he's being told to do. None of this is on Depp.
Well, that's just exactly what he's supposed to. In addition to making Antonio Banderas boring, in addition to making this action boring, you take Johnny Depp, who, even if you don't like him, he's rarely anything you would describe as boring. Even Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a complete pile of shit. It certainly isn't boring. He's certainly doing something.
He's going for it. He's going for it in that film.
In this one, he it's almost odd to me. I was telling Sean this, watching him essentially playing a straight character, although he put in like a little bit of a weird voice. It was almost like a little bit of Ed Wood voice just to make it weird enough so it was like not normal, but it wasn't enough to be a character. So it just made it even weirder. But again, he was boring. He was clearly just monologuing for the sake of monologuing. I have no idea why.
Off to his own dialogue in this film.
But here's the problem: is that they added so many characters, including him, that you took Antonio Banderas, made him a supporting character in his own franchise. He's basically a side character in this movie.
He's basically Jason Voorhees. Like, he's not the main character. He's the one that comes in and wrecks shop, and everyone's afraid of him. Everyone's in fear of him, so you can't have him be on screen a whole lot. And it's like. But he's
But in the first movie, it was the same way. They told whole stories about he walks in a room and the lights dim just for him.
He was still in the film at least 75% of the time.
Right, that's what I'm saying. In the first movie, he was still like kind of the boogeyman everybody feared, but he was still the star of the movie. This one, they shoved in the background.
Not gonna lie, I want a Desperado John Wick. I got chills. Give me El Mariachi and John Wick.
El Mariachi, who, by the way, people refer to him as a first name L. Like, that's not how
his
nicknames
name
work.
Not the people.
We don't refer to Dwayne Johnson as the, because it's Rock, if anything.
Yeah.
Anyway,
or Rocky.
But then you have so many other characters taking up screen time who are mostly pointless. You have Willem Dafoe and Brownface, which I'm not even going to touch that one.
Yeah,
you can if you want to. I'm not going to.
No, that's enough. It
would not get made today this way. Let's just say that, or he'd be canceled.
You have Mickey Rourke and this weird fascination with this dog.
Yeah, you have Enrique Iglesias for no reason,
just to be there.
Just to be there.
And then
you have the main bad guy, this general, whatever his name is, that you have who's supposed to be like the biggest villain in the movie, is like this nobody actor, first of all. And plus, he's like a nobody character. You don't really get to know anything about him. Like, why are we supposed to be afraid of this guy? Just because he's the general? I don't know.
Yeah, and then Ruben Blades, he does this weird thing in the film, and we didn't mention it during the movie. I think it's because we were just so bored. He monologues to himself. Like, he's always talking to himself. Like, he makes it seem like he's talking to somebody. He's not talking to anybody. But like it's almost like he's commentating his own movements. Like, I gotta make a move, gotta make it now. What's going on here? Something's happening here. I gotta make my chance. I gotta do it now. I'm like, because he, outside of like one scene with Depp, he's by himself, just kind of lurking, following everyone. So it's like he has to like kind of figure out, do his own thing, and it's mostly him just basically being his play-by-play commentator. And it's just like Ruben Blades deserves more out of this. And then Eva Mendes, she's got like 3 scenes in this film, and like each time she's a different character than she was previously.
And I really like Eva Mendes. I would have liked to, if they wanted to if Robert Rodriguez said, I want to make a movie starring Johnny Depp and Eva Mendes, great, do it. But don't try and shoehorn them in to become the stars of this movie.
Well, yeah, because like the one scene they had in the bedroom, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed their stuff together, but it's just like they're like the 5th plot point in this film.
The 5th plot point, but yet Johnny Depp seems to have the most screen time of anyone.
Oh yeah, and they basically wanted to make it felt like they wanted to make a Johnny Depp movie, but they threw him into Desperado franchise. But it's like, guys, we want to see Banderas. We want to see Banderas do Desperado shit or mariachi shit. We don't want to see Johnny Depp neuter this franchise. Like I said, it's not Depp's fault. I'm not blaming him. It's the
characters wasn't interesting enough. I mean, his little fake arm quirk isn't enough to carry a whole movie, which is what it tried to do.
Yeah, and they did it one too many times.
Yeah.
I mean, when they did the part where he's like driving with it, I'm just like, now you overdid it at that point.
Yeah. So then you also we haven't even gotten into Salma Hayek yet, who I almost feel like she just came back and did the movie as a favor because she's barely in this movie. She's in
maybe
3 scenes.
She maybe shot 4 hours. 4 hours.
Yeah, she probably came in for a day, maybe 2 days of shooting. I don't know, but she's barely in this movie, and it's only in flashbacks.
Yeah, she's a flashback.
It's like, what? Why is she? It's like she only showed up so that they could put her in the trailers to get people to come see it, because they're gonna be like, why didn't Salma Hayek come back?
Yeah, where's Salma Hayek?
Her role doesn't affect this plot at all.
Her role or her character drives Banderas in the film. His whole motivations is for what happens to Hayek in the flashback.
Is what had already happened before the events of this movie, though. That's the problem.
It's literally the same beats from Desperado. It's the same plot for Desperado, but then you're adding all this fucking government agency shit on top of it. And it's just like, look, if you just wanted to remake Desperado, that's fine. But don't fucking put a pile of garbage that we don't care about on top of Desperado, because you're ruining what made Desperado great.
I really just wish.
Let's also finish, because I'm going on a tangent. Go ahead.
I would say I wish Rodriguez had just made a different movie instead of a Desperado sequel, because he could bring back Antonio Banderas to people if he wanted to, and add Johnny Depp if he wanted to, but give it its own story. Because first of all, it's like, besides the fact that you, like I said, neutered and sidelined your main character, he's bringing back Cheech Marin and Danny Trejo.
who
into the
dies
same
in the first
franchise,
one.
but as completely different characters,
Yeah.
which was confusing as hell. Because especially because like Cheech Marin, I'm like, wait, is he supposed to be the same character? But it turns out he lived, or I had no idea.
Yeah, I was like, no, because Cheech Marin got shot through the eye in Desperado. Spoiler alert.
Which is why in this one he had an eye patch. So I'm like,
an eye patch. And it's like,
so I'm thinking maybe he survived it, but then I looked up, he has different names in the.
I was like, no, I was like, he 100% was dead.
Yeah.
And then Trejo, he gets blown to shit in the first film, and he's back again, not
Just
playing
as
the
a-
same character.
But yeah, he doesn't. He looks exactly the same, but not
And
the
then
same
Salma
character.
Hayek's like basically playing Danny Trejo's character with the knives. She's like, when did she learn how to be so good with knives?
Yeah, suddenly she's like this super, super fighter who can take out 10 people that are attacking her.
She's basically Miho from Sin City, where she's just like deadly little Miho. We're throwing the knives and with perfect precision. But the most egregious thing that you could have done in this film that Brian and I just could not get past was that you had Antonio Banderas wearing a horrid wig throughout this entire film. It looks bad. You can tell within the first 10 seconds he's wearing a wig.
You're like, oh, that's a wig. And just to confirm, I went and looked up like other movies that came out around the same time, and all of them had short hair, so it's definitely a wig.
Yeah, clearly he didn't have enough time to grow it out. And like the wig is just always out of place. Like there's one scene where I think he's talking to Depp. His hair is so messed up. You know what's one thing that Desperado never had? His hair was pristine. Like he either had like the strands, like there's one point
Whether
where
it was pulled back or flat, it
or
still
just
looked good.
Well, there's one point like his hair's out like this, and I'm just like, dude, like I would say do this, but you can't because then the fucking wig will fall off. But it's just like we're just the whole time it's like I can't get over this fucking wig.
Can't get past the fake hair, yeah.
And then like there's the 1.2 where he's like he's going over his sins and it's Johnny Depp and Johnny Depp's doing a weird voice and like Antonio Banderas knows it's Johnny Depp, but it's like why is he still doing the fucking voice? But it's like this is one of those films. I'm trying to remember the last stinker we had where it's like the cast was so big that it shouldn't have failed. And it was awful. It was recent. We talked about it recently, and I can't remember what it was. But where it's like this movie should not have failed. It was too good with the cast, and it had too much coming with it with Desperado for it to suck. Because it ultimately it's just one of those things where it's like you're not even mad that it's a bad movie. You're just disappointed in what it was because of what had happened previously to it. And yeah, I mean, it's just it upsets me. And rewatching it again with Brian, it upset me further because it should not have failed. Anything else you want to add?
No, I was trying to see which stinker you're talking.
Yeah,
The problem is
I'm looking at it myself, and I can't fucking.
the problem is you've described about 15 movies on here because Mordecai had a great cast, should have been great. Lady Killers had a great cast, should have been good. So who knows which one
should have been good.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, it's on HBO Max, but it's really just boring and lifeless and humorless too. It's just don't bother.
Yeah, go watch Desperado.
Just watch Desperado.
If there's anything you get out of this episode, go watch Desperado. If you've already seen Desperado, fucking go watch it again.
El Mariachi, worth watching, but not nearly as good as Desperado. This one, not worth watching.
Just pretend this one didn't happen because that's what Brian and I do. We pretend this one never happened, except until we had to watch it again for the show. We're going on to our revisited film now. This is a film that I think has very, very. I think in certain circles it's talked very, very highly. I remember watching this when I was younger because like as I was rewatching, I was like I don't remember this film, and then as I was watching, I was like I remember this scene. I remember this. I remember this. I don't remember the movie, but I remember this kind of thing. This is a film that I don't know where I was going to go with that, so I'm just going to skip it. But we are talking about the Kevin Bacon thriller, ghost thriller. It's not
supernatural thriller.
Definitely not a horror film. Yeah, supernatural thriller, Stir of Echoes. Stir of Echoes came out September 10th, 1999, had a budget of $12 million, had a weekend opening of $5.8 million. It was number 3 its opening weekend behind Stigmata in its first week. I totally forgot about that film. And The Sixth Sense in its 6th week. It had a finished box office of $21.14 million. Kevin Bacon. I mean, a lot of people go at Nick Cage for like making some weird choices. And this is not a knock on Kevin Bacon. I'm actually about to praise him here real quick. I love when when Kevin Bacon does weird films. Like, I remember, like, obviously Kevin Bacon's Kevin Bacon. We all love Kevin Bacon. And then, like, he did Hollow Man. And then I felt like he disappeared for, like, the longest time. But no, he didn't. He did this. And then I felt like he didn't do anything for the longest time after this. And then he came back with Death Sentence. And Death Sentence was... Yes. I was like, oh my God, Kevin Bacon, I missed you. And then he did Days of Futures Past. And then he had the TV show The Following. And I was like, okay, Kevin Bacon's back. But yeah, this was one of those, it's like, I never would have pinned Kevin Bacon for a film like this. But then you're watching it and you're like, this is perfect Kevin Bacon right here. And then there are other things I want to touch on when it comes to the film as well. But Brian, you probably have more of a recollection about this film than I do. Because like I said, I was 14 when this one came out. So it's like, I didn't remember as much until I started rewatching it. But go ahead.
So the biggest problem with this movie, not the problem of the movie, but that affected the movie, is that it came out in the wake of The Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense came out in
6 months earlier, or 6 weeks earlier.
Yeah, like just weeks earlier.
Yeah.
And then Stuart Echoes came out, which it's the same kind of supernatural kind of vibe to it. Really, it's basically the kid is basically seeing dead people, and they're trying to, in this case though, they're trying to solve this mystery.
Like his mind's more open, or his mind's eye kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of had the same kind of vibe to it, but it was from a much smaller studio. This is from I want to say Artisan Films, I think it was called, as opposed to Touchstone or whoever that put out Sixth Sense. So it didn't have the marketing behind it, things like this. So it obviously got swallowed up kind of and forgotten about a lot faster. But in my opinion, this is bad. I think Sixth Sense is overrated. I really do. I mean, aside from its twist, it's kind of a bland, boring movie, and even the twist is kind of like, eh. But I think this is the better movie of the two. I'm not going to say that I think this is like a perfect thriller or anything. I just think it's one of those ones that I always like to talk about because I think it deserves to be seen at least by people and let them decide for themselves if they like it or not. Kevin Bacon, I really enjoy in a ton of stuff. The only problem I have here is a little overboard on his Chicago accent. But
not just him, everyone.
Everybody. They're going hardcore into Chicago in this movie, which I always like. Chicago.
I almost thought they were in New Jersey at one point because they were just so like over the top with everything.
I always like Chicago set movies, just because I like to recognize where they are and everything. But they went a little overboard on that. But I mean, I think it's a solid thriller. I really like the way the whole thing plays out. I think it's got a good pace to it, a good tone to the whole thing. It's another one's cast there aren't really any stars in this movie, but it's people you've seen and heard of. This Catherine Irby, Ileana.
I got so excited when I saw her.
Kevin Dunn.
I like her.
Kevin Dunn, who's always good in everything he does. He's like a character actor. Yeah. And then an almost unrecognizable Jennifer Morrison before she was big.
I didn't recognize that it was her until we saw the actual flashback of what happened, and she had the glass. Like, oh shit! Because the whole time throughout the film, when she's like haunting, like I did not see it. But when she was like, they showed her alive. I was like, oh fuck, that's Jennifer Morrison. Yeah. I was like, cool. This movie just got perked up a little bit more. I was like, oh, I know who she is. Cool.
Right. But I mean, it's just one of those. I think I really liked the story, the mystery of it. I like the way it played out. I like how it kind of showed kind of almost his descent into madness, kind of the same way of like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters, like just going nuts trying to find out what's going on with this thing. And yeah, so this one you had seen before. Or is this first time viewing as well?
I know I've seen it because there are parts that I remember. Like I remember the backyard scene when they're digging, and I remember the part where she like freezes him. Where he like touches her, he's like kind of thing. Like I remember parts of this, but I not enough to like be like, oh, okay, I know what's gonna happen next, or I know how the ending goes. Like it got to the point where I was like, I think I remember where she is. And I'm going to say that and not say anymore for people who haven't seen the film. But I was like, oh, I remember that part. but I didn't remember enough of it to get full on plot points. There are 4 things I had a problem with on this film. I enjoy the film, but there are 4 things I'm just like, I really didn't like this. First off, and I have a problem with this with a lot of movies where most of the dialogue is people screaming over the other person over and over, because that's what the most of this film is one person screaming, the other one
Uncut gems.
Them. What's that?
I said uncut gems.
Oh God, yes. And it's like, oh my God, like seriously, because like I was watching this with closed captioning. You can't watch it with closed captioning because they're all talking way too fast and yelling. The closed captioning cannot keep up. Like it's like you can't tell who's saying what because they're just talking over each other the entire time, which is very, very annoying. It's not the actors or actresses' faults. It's a director's choice, and I hated that. 2, the pregnant subplot had no purpose in the film. What was the point of the pregnant subplot?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that had to do with the film.
Nothing to do. Like they just did it just, I guess, what to give Catherine Irby's Maggie like something else, but like it never was an important factor in the film. So like, why even do it?
I mean, I thought maybe it'd play into like his mindset and the stress and the bonding building up to it, but it didn't. It was just
it was just like the whole time I was like I'm watching. I was like, is the pregnancy ever gonna like come back around to being something important? Because like that is like the first staple thing of the film. Mm-hmm. Is him finding out that she's pregnant and his reaction. Like that is literally how the movie is starting out. So it's like this is gonna be important, and it never gets brought up again.
I mean, does the fact that she's pregnant hurt this movie? No, it's just pointless.
No, but it's one of those things where it's like when it's a mystery and you're expecting like, oh, they're going to touch back around to this, or this is going to cause a rift because of something. And
unless it was supposed to be a red herring, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, and now you could have taken that out of the film, and the film's the same movie. And then I'm not a real fan of body horror, but of the time, the late 90s, like that's kind of the thing. Then it's like the point of the tooth and like the fingernail thing. Like, I'm not a fan of that. But it's of the time of horror around then. Like, it's like, it is what it is. I can't really be mad at that.
It has some gruesome imagery,
Yeah, honestly, like you look at horror films around that time frame, like that was kind of the norm. Like everyone did that. But yeah, it's just it's one of those things where, and then the subplot of like what actually is going on, like when she follows the cop to that one place, and he explains what's going on with Kevin Bacon. I'm like, okay, there's going to be more to this, and it's nothing. Like it's never brought up again, and it's like, oh well, she's going to be more understanding. No, she's not more understanding about it. She's still the same character before she found out about this. There's no growth from that. Like I felt like there's movie missing, and it probably is. There's probably like this whole other subplot with the pregnancy and all this shit. They just fell on the cutting room floor. But it's like the pregnancy served no purpose for the film. Her finding out what's actually going on with Kevin Bacon did not serve the plot, except that it gave her something to do. And then once she finds out, it doesn't help her at any. She still makes stupid decisions that she knows she shouldn't do. And Kevin Bacon obviously doesn't know what's going on with him because she doesn't ever explain it to him. Like, that was one thing. It was like, oh, she's going to explain it to Kevin, and then Kevin's going to kind of maybe figure some stuff out a little better. But no, it never gets brought up. She finds out what's going on with him, and then it's just dropped from there. Those 4 things I had a problem with. I enjoyed the mystery of it as well. Kevin Bacon is great in the film. Catherine Irby, like I said, I'm knocking 2 things of her about being pregnant and then stop, but I enjoyed her performance in the film. I just wish that she wasn't playing the typecast wife where she's just naggy the whole time, and maybe she could have been more supportive character, because her character feels like she would be a very supportive wife especially when she finds out what's really going on, to help him instead of basically turning on him. And I was just like, what was the whole point of her finding out if she wasn't going to help? Because she never does help. And that was kind of frustrating. It's like, she does a great job, but I feel like the script didn't do her a real service. Kevin Dunn, I thought, did a solid job. Jennifer Morrison as the ghost, once I figured out that it was Jennifer Morrison, I think she's solid. I think they could have done a little bit more with the ghost in the movie, a little bit more. But for what it is, I think it's a very solid supernatural thriller. It's definitely not a horror film by any means. But I enjoyed it. I was intrigued by it. I was on the edge of my seat watching it. Even the very beginning because it's all done through a hypnosis thing. I even liked the way they did the hypnosis.
Yeah.
In the theater, imagine everything like this. Imagine everything like this, and you're watching. It's like, what's the words on the screen say? And like as the whole time, like I'm leaning, going, what does it say? What does it say? And I was like, oh, it's asleep.
And then it's like there's someone else in the theater, and she's like, no, there isn't. Like, yes, there is.
Yes, there is. Like I love that scene.
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's someone right there, and then everything, and like I really, really enjoyed that. So yeah, it's like there's a lot of good, but there's bad in this film. It's not a perfect film by any means, and that's probably what caused it. Because, like I said, you had the Sixth Sense right there. Those things probably did hinder the film a little bit. That and because, like I said, it was artisan productions or entertainment or what do you want to call it. It wasn't getting the publicity that M. Night's Sixth Sense had. But people who go back and rewatch Kevin Bacon stuff, they've gone back to this like, oh yeah, it's great. But yeah, like those are the things that like irked me when I went back and rewatched it. I also am not a fan of the sister actress, but she was fine in her role. I'm just not a fan of that actress.
She's one of those actresses who was in like every movie in the late '90s for some reason.
She's like a poor man's Allison Janney.
I could see that. I think at the time back then I used to get the two of them mixed up.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. That's anything else you want to add?
No, but if you guys are looking for, kind of supernatural thriller, you haven't seen this one, I would recommend checking it out. I didn't have the same problem as Sean has, but even the problems he had, he still enjoyed the movie. Just, were things about it he didn't like as much. You can watch it free everywhere. It's Hoopla and Canopy through your libraries. You watch it free with ads through IMDb TV, Pluto TV, Roku channel, Tubi TV, on Vudu, their free section. It's everywhere.
So I watched it on Vudu.
Yeah.
And also just like with the previous film, we told you watch this. We're saying watch Stir of Echoes, but if you have not checked it out, Death Sentence. Check out Death Sentence.
Yes.
It's basically, oh god, was that before Taken? Was Death Sentence before Taken?
No.
I wish it was. If you want to see
double checking it now, but I'm not sure.
If you want to see Kevin Bacon in a revenge plot, trying to take out bad guys who, spoiler, it's in the trailers. They murder.
James Wan directed that, right?
Did James Wan direct it?
I thought he did.
Basically, Kevin Bacon's son gets murdered by these people, and Kevin Bacon basically goes on a revenge rampage against them. It is awesome.
It was 2 years before, a year and a half before Taken, and it is James Wan. Yes.
So if you guys like James Wan, and if you want to see, we're not bashing Taken. Obviously, we talked about Taken on the show, and Taken was about a kidnapping, not a murder. But Kevin Bacon kills it in Death Sentence. So check that out if you guys have not done that. But now we're going to our final film. It is my pick, or probably would have been the feature film, but either way, it's a great film nonetheless. This is a film that I didn't see until earlier this year for the very first time, or it might have been last year. This is a film that I've heard about ad nauseum because of who wrote it. Because it was that first. I think it was the first time they ever did anything, right? In Big Picture.
No, he had written Natural Born Killers.
Okay, this is one of Tarantino's very first written films, along with Natural Born Killers. He had not directed, I think, at this point yet, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because he hadn't done Reservoir Dogs.
Well, he had done. He had directed Reservoir Dogs. Well, I think this was written before Reservoir Dogs got a release.
Gotcha.
But Reservoir Dogs came out in '92. This came out in '93.
Gotcha. We are talking about the Tony Scott directed, but Quentin Tarantino written True Romance. True Romance came out September 10th, 1993, had a budget of $12.5 million, had a weekend opening of $4.02 million. Number 3, its opening weekend behind The Fugitive in its 6th week and Undercover Blues in its 1st week. And had a finished box office of $13.08 million, $12.28 million domestic, and $807,299 million international. I only watched this film recently because of trivia. Like I had to watch it because it was one of the movies we had to study, deep cuts on. I did not like. I had always heard of the film, but I didn't know what the movie was. And then I watched it, and like I don't think I necessarily I liked it. I didn't love it. And then I rewatched it again for trivia, and I was like, okay, I'm actually really starting to really like this movie. And then I watched it literally, I think, like 3 hours ago, and I was like, yeah, I really fucking like this movie. You got Christian Slater, who Brian loves. Christian Slater. You got Patricia Arquette. You got Gary Oldman in probably one of his most unique performances to date. You've got oh god, what's his name? Oh god,
I know which one you're going for.
Michael Rappaport.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Rappaport. You got Christopher Walken in a great scene. One scene. I kind of really wish he was in more than just that one scene. You also got Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer. You got, at the time, a relative unknown in Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Who plays Floyd.
He's great in that role too.
He's hilarious in the film. Yeah, this movie's so good.
And that's, I mean, you left out Tom Sizemore, Samuel L. Jackson, James Gandolfini, Chris Penn. There's just a huge cast.
Well, with Samuel Jackson,
well, he's in one scene,
you only know it's Samuel L. from his voice. Because you don't ever really get a good facial recognition of him. And then, once again, Samuel Jackson wasn't really a star then.
Not at the time.
He didn't need to be visualized there. He was just a voice. But yeah, the story, it follows Christian Slater's character, Clarence. Such a weird name for him. And he's all about, honestly, let's put it this way. He's us. He's us. The way he talks about movies, he's fucking us. Like, he literally, like, the movie literally opens up with him talking to a girl at a bar, which I recognize her as like, oh, it's the police chick from Bad Boys.
Police chick in Bad Boys. She's Sarah's mom in The Crow. She's the girl who got attacked in Unforgiven. She had like a good 5-year span there.
Yeah, it's like I knew her from Bad Boys. Yeah. And he's literally talking to her about Elvis, and then he invites her to a Sunny Chiba or Chima? Chiba? A Sunny Chiba triple feature. And she's like, you want me to go see a martial arts movie with you? He's like, not 1, 3. And she's like, fuck that. And leaves. And so he goes to the movie by himself. And obviously here comes Patricia Arquette. Gorgeous Patricia Arquette. She plays Alabama. And she, they hit it off. You find out that she was a call girl. His boss paid for her for his birthday, which fucking great boss, by the way. Right. It's his birthday. Let's get him laid. Call girl. I wish I had a boss like that. Fuck. That's one of the things she was like, I always kind of wish we would have saw who the boss was.
I want to see that episode of Undercover Boss where somebody's like, I'm going to buy that guy a call girl.
I want to see. That was probably the one part of the film I was like, I would have loved to have seen who played the boss. I want to see the face of the man that goes, that guy needs to get laid. I'm buying him a call girl for his birthday, because that is a boss that I want to work for. But and then obviously
he was too young at the time, but now Sam Rockwell would be that boss.
Oh, so that would, and especially if he had the guy mustache from Galaxy Quest, or Matt Dillon from There's Something About Mary. Like, those have been the perfect choices for that. But so anyway, obviously they fall in love, and he goes, like, oh,
you would almost say it's true romance.
Yeah, exactly. And then once again, just like us, he takes her to his comic book store, and he's talking about Spider-Man. It's just like, this guy's totally us, and it's so sad that he's us. But yet he gets a girl like Patricia Arquette.
Well, because he's Christian Slater. So
exactly, it is Christian Slater. But obviously he goes to try to talk to her pimp, played by Gary Oldman in his one
of my favorite Gary Oldman roles ever.
He plays Drexel, which is basically him acting a certain type of way, and it is whole. Let's put it this way: he is a gangster, badass version of Seth Green and Can't Hardly Wait.
Oh, he totally. I've watched this movie going, he's totally is Seth Green.
No, hold on. This came out before. I think Seth Green saw Gary Oldman and he goes, I'm going to be that, but high school, not a villain.
Because he almost did the same voice several times, too.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, I heard oh, it's all about the flavor. It's just, it's like this is like Seth Green totally copied Gary Oldman's character for this film.
No, I know I'm pretty, but I ain't pretty as a pair of titties.
Exactly.
That same voice. Yeah.
It's so the same thing. It's like when you hear a voice actor You're like, I know that voice. I know it. I hear it. And it's like, oh, it's totally Seth Green. Can't hardly wait. But obviously, they get into a scuffle. Christian Slater takes a briefcase thinking that it's Alabama's things, and ends up being a whole thing of cocaine. They run away, try to sell it, and obviously the people who have it, it's a whole thing. And that's the general plot of the film. Obviously, you can tell Tarantino wrote this because the way Slater talks about movies in this is such a Tarantino like verbiage.
Well, and it's not even just Tarantino. You get like those speeches from Christopher Walken or from Dennis Hopper.
Oh, well, that whole scene was like, this is totally Inglourious Bastards. The opening.
Yeah, you can just totally hear those Tarantino monologues and well, dialogues too. It's absolutely identifiable as Tarantino.
Oh yeah, and then you add Tony Scott's direction to it.
Oh, I love Tony Scott.
Yeah,
you know how I feel.
And one of my favorite scenes in the movie is also call out to Bronson Pinchot. I love Balky from Perfect Strangers. I loved him in this movie. But I love the scene when they just got off the roller coaster and Slater's talking to I'm blanking on the actor's name, the boss, the producer. Saul Rubinek. And they're talking about the cocaine, but they're talking about Dr. Zhivago and the way that they are talking about it. And it's like, it's all code in case someone's listening. But it's like I didn't appreciate it the first two times I watched it. Like watching it, I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like that Clarence is so like the way he's using this. Like, I want to debut it at Cannes, but I can't. So I'm gonna give it to you because you can make a bigger budget. I'm just like,
no, Clarence. Dr. Zhivago is a pretty big movie.
Yeah, it's like that is such brilliant dialogue, which Tarantino wrote, and it's like this whole scene just like I almost want that like on a transcript and just read that scene. Like that scene is written so well. And then they do it again later when he goes and meets him, and he's talking about I forgot what the movie was called, something body bag.
Coming home in a body bag,
and they have their own conversation there. I love that. Patricia Arquette's scene with
Gandolfini.
Yes, James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano. That scene, fantastic. Obviously, Christopher Walken's one scene, fantastic. Gary Oldman's scene, fantastic. There is so much greatness in this film. It shocks me that it still kind of is not a big movie in a lot of people's eyes. Like, no, I feel like not enough people talk about this film, but like watching it, it's like, this is a fantastic film. It really, really is. Brian, what are your thoughts? Because I've been talking the entire time.
That's all right. No, I agree with you. I don't think enough people pay attention to this. I mean, among like a lot of our circles, people know real well and stuff. But it's a movie that I still don't think gets enough credit. In my opinion, it's actually, I would almost think it's my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Maybe one or two. I
wouldn't go that far, but okay.
Maybe one or two of the ones he directed would be above this. But actually, I'm not even sure because I just really love this movie that much. I honestly, rewatching this makes me kind of wish that he did more writing for other people to direct. Because first of all, I was talking on Mass. I was wrong. Natural Born Killers came out the year after this. But
so this was Tarantino's very first.
So this was his first, not counting Reservoir Dogs, which came out first. But we don't know when it was written. I don't know. But I wish that he kind of did write more things for other people to direct because you kind of get to see some different takes on the material because Tony Scott's direction. Now, everyone knows, I've talked about this in the show. I love Tony Scott. I mean, I like Ridley Scott, but Tony Scott is actually my favorite of the brothers because, I mean, he's everything from Top Gun and True Romance to Last Boy Scout, Crimson Tide, which is Deja Vu, which is a hugely underrated movie. If you haven't seen that one, I recommend checking out Deja Vu, along with a bunch of other Denzel movies. Yeah, Man on Fire. But Tony Scott's direction, I think, works so well in conjunction with Quentin Tarantino's script. And I think that between the two of them, they just made this movie that's, I mean, it's weird to talk about for a movie like this, but to me it's almost a perfect movie. Because, I mean, it's got some action scenes and things to it, but it really is a dialogue-driven movie. I mean, there are things happening.
It's a Bonnie and Clyde without the mass murder.
It absolutely, because it moves from scene to scene. It's like, every scene is like either a conversation or it's a monologue, and it just kind of goes from scene to scene to scene. And there, except for a few action scenes, mostly in the second half of the movie, there's not a whole lot to it more than that. So it's very intriguing. It works as a crime movie. It works. It's actually surprisingly funny. Well, it's not surprisingly if you know Quentin Tarantino stuff, but it's got plenty of comedy to it. It's got actual heart to it. So you totally believe the relationship between these two people that just met that night.
Mhm.
You know, you totally believe that. It's just everything about it works for me. And I think it starts with the script and then continues on with the cast, which you've already talked about the whole cast.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to name them all again.
Oh,
But it's
no,
just.
but I mean, like, Brad Pitt as Floyd is
Brad Pitt as Floyd is hilarious.
great.
And to me, the standouts are Brad Pitt as Floyd, Gary Oldman as Drexel, and then of course I really like Christian Slater. I think Christian Slater is one of, you know how certain actors can handle dialogue that might sound silly in someone else's mouth. Like Kevin Smith movies are like that a lot. Kevin, especially his earlier movies, people sound like they're reciting somebody's written dialogue. It doesn't sound natural.
Yeah.
But like Jason Lee, he can handle Kevin Smith. It just sounds normal coming out of Jason Lee's mouth.
Affleck can handle that's why I think why he uses a lot of the same people.
Yeah,
they know how to read his dialogue.
But then a lot of other people he would stick in his movies, especially his earlier movies. It just doesn't. It sounds like somebody's just trying to read something quippy. The same thing with Quentin Tarantino. You get the wrong actor trying to recite it doesn't work. But you get Samuel L. Jackson, it works. You get, I think Christian Slater, it sounds normal, natural, because he is, like you said, he's like a fanboy, one of us, just ranting about movies and comic books and all this kind of stuff, and you totally buy into his character. And so for me, I really love this movie. Like I said, I wish Quentin Tarantino. I know he says he wants to stop directing. Maybe he'll still write for other people. That'd be awesome.
He's got one directed. He's going to direct one more movie, but it's like
supposedly
cool. Keep writing screenplays then.
Do it. Keep writing, because I would love to see what other directors can do with his work.
Yeah. Give him some up and coming director that we all like, but give Tarantino's words and let's see what they do with it. Hands down, I probably the one scene of Floyd that killed me every time is when it's the second time the mobsters show up at the place and he's smoking the bowl he's smoking the bear. Let's say that.
Yeah.
He's all like, "You want to hit, cop?" Okay,
they're going down this road.
Like, okay.
Good on this road.
Brad Pitt is so pitch perfect in every part of that film. And I love this movie. And it's one of those movies that I keep forgetting that I love it. And then I watch it. Because I remember like before tonight, you're like, "Hey, we gotta shoot tonight." And I'm like, "Oh crap, I haven't watched True Romance yet." And I remember I kept pushing it off because I don't really want to watch it. And then I'm watching, I'm like, why did I push this off? I love this movie. And it's just one of those things. I was like, I just got removed from it, and I forgot how much I loved it. And then as I was watching it, that's like, I don't know why I forgot how much I love this movie. Like I love how I could keep talking about this. It's just the way the dialogue flows through Slater and like the world that he's opening up for Alabama, because Alabama's character, she's very kind of small town girl. Obviously, no one treats her with respect. They treat her like, oh, she's a dumb blonde. So when he's trying to explain movies and stuff to her, she's just kind of this in wonder kind of thing. But she's this secret badass, when she goes and when she's going against Gandolfini, that is a fantastically orchestrated fight scene.
Yeah,
and it makes sense. It's not like she's Beatrix Kiddo, where she's basically a badass. No, she's
getting the shit kicked out.
Vulnerable as she can get, and it's a brutal fight. And everything that she does in this is plausible and makes sense, because Gandolfini thinks he's a bear playing with a bone, and he's just playing with his food, and she gets the upper hand on him. And it's a great shot scene. And then even the clusterfuck ending that we get, it's so just crazy, that whole scene. And of course, you got him. That's the only part of the movie that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, is that he's in the bathroom and you have all this yelling and screaming going on outside. He's he doesn't hear any of that. He didn't hear any of it until the gunshots went off. I'm like, come on, those hotel rooms are not that soundproof.
Well, it's a big movie producer's bathroom. Maybe they're really well insulated.
They're all screaming at the top of their
right. 50 people all screaming at each other at the same time.
And then, of course, shout out to Val Kilmer, who, if you don't know, then you're not going to know he's in the movie. He plays Elvis.
Yeah. You never see his face.
Oh, yeah, you never see his face.
You see him in a reflection of a mirror, and you hear his voice.
Yeah, Christian Slater's character, Elvis is his hero. So he kind of has like this imaginary friend of Elvis talking him up, like giving him confidence and stuff like that. And it's Val Kilmer doing it. And Val Kilmer does a great job. It's 2 scenes, but he does a great job in it. And like I say, if you don't look at the credits, you'll never know it's him. But yeah, True Romance, also on HBO Max.
The one other thing I want to give a shout out to is the score for this movie. I love. It's totally not what you expect from a movie like this. I mean, yeah, there's parts where it has like the
it's soft
guitar and stuff, but it's like xylophone. It almost sounds like you see on like some tropical vacation movie or something.
Yeah.
But it totally works. I love the score. I own the score to this on CD. Well, I don't listen to CDs anymore, but I have it on digital now. But I love the score to this movie. It's so cool. It's so original.
It's a movie that you think you've seen this film many, many, many times before. But no, it's its own kind of thing. Like I said, perfectly directed by Tony Scott, perfectly written by Tarantino, perfectly casted by everybody. Everyone in this movie comes in and does their scene perfectly. Whether it's one scene like Walk In, or whether it's 2 scenes like Oldman, or the whole film like Slater and Arquette. Everyone does their job, to the smallest character to the biggest character. This, like Brian said, is almost a near perfect film. For me. And it's one of those movies that's like, I keep forgetting how much I love it. And I have to keep reminding myself how much I love True Romance. But yes, it's on HBO Max. If you guys have not checked it out, check it out. If you guys haven't watched it in a while, still check it out. I think this is one of the most not reviewed, but like we've given so many shout outs, like watch this, go watch this. Like what was it, like Death Sentence, Desperado, True Romance, obviously Stir of Echoes and Cellular and all this. Like, we've been like telling everyone, you guys have a lot of movies to watch, guys. Last Castle for sneakers. Like, guys, you got plenty of stuff to watch now. But that is our episode. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a little bit longer than normal, but we've been pent up for 2 weeks not doing a show. So we had to come back strong. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, hit that like, share, subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. We got a review for Shang-Chi on the channel. We did not do a spoiler review. Brian really liked it. I obviously really liked it. I think the moment's passed from doing a spoiler review, so we're not going to do one. But if you guys want to talk about it, you guys can message us. Coming up next in terms of films, the Netflix film Kate is out, which we're both obviously going to watch. Because of Mary Elizabeth Winstead. We are definitely checking that out. In theaters, the only film that came out this week is Malignant, James Wan's new horror. But it's also on HBO Max, which I'll probably watch on HBO Max personally. So there will be a review for that. Next week, nothing that I care about. You got Cry Macho, which is Clint Eastwood's latest film. No thank you for me. Brian will probably watch that at some point.
Oh, hell
I didn't know. I don't know if you. I think the last Eastwood film I watched was Gran Torino.
I hate Clint Eastwood movies.
Yeah, and then The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I have absolutely no interest in watching. Brian might watch it because he thinks it looks funny.
Well, here's the thing: is I have no interest in the subject matter of it. It's like I remember it from back in the day, but I don't care about it. But the fact that they're kind of going for this kind of comedy vibe, it's actually directed by one of the guys from The State, Michael Showalter, who actually he directed Big Sick and Lovebirds. Well, Lovebirds sucked, but he directed The Big Sick. But I mean, and it's got Jessica Chastain, Andrew Garfield, Vincent D'Onofrio. It's worth checking out. I'll let you know what I think.
I saw the trailer for it and I'm watching it and I'm just like, oh yeah, that was on my trailer for Shang-Chi. That was on my
was
trailer.
it?
Yeah, and I was like, this is so not the movie.
It's a weird trailer to have.
That is not the movie you should be pitching. Like I had that, Last Duel, and Eternals. I'm like, this is so not the right reel for this thing. Yeah, really weird. And you can tell everyone else is like, what the fuck is this movie? But those are the movies that come out. And also on VOD that comes out today is Bad Candy, which, Brian, you just showed me this trailer. It's VOD today, and I think it comes out on Blu-ray like October 12th or something, which I might do a review at some point between now and then. If you guys are fans of Trick or Treat, this. We think it looks like a Trick or Treat kind of film.
The trailer definitely gives me that Trick or Treat vibe. Now, it could
Yeah.
be complete shit,
Yeah,
but it could be
complete
great.
dog crap.
I don't know. It apparently won all kinds of like film festival awards,
Yes.
like as far as like horror festivals.
All I know is that
hopefully.
I love Trick or Treat. It was it's one of my favorite Halloween films. So if this is anything remotely close to it, I'm all about checking it out. And if it's good, I might have a review for it. If it's dog shit, I'm just not going to waste my time filming a review for it. But that comes out on VOD today as well. I may check that out. I'll let you guys know if I do. But also next week, Brian and I will be back for another episode of the Weekend Crusaders, where we talk about 5 movies that came out in movie history. And this list is a fun list. I love 4 out of 5 of these movies. We've got a teen coming of age film that is beloved by many. I have not seen it since it's come out, so it's going to feel like a first-time view for me. We've got a 90s comedy film of an actor that we both love. And this is the one, to me, that I generate more towards that actor's performances to this film over his others. That doesn't mean that he's not better in those other films, but this is the one that, like, when I think of this actor, this is the first movie that pops in my head. We've got a thriller, an indie thriller that has gained so much love from people who have seen it, but not enough people have seen this film. So we're going to talk about that one because more people need to know about this movie, how good it is. And then our feature film is a family dramedy that Brian and I both love. The cast is phenomenal. And every time I watch this film, I love it and love it more every time. And then we got a stinker that is, it's going to be so fucking stupid that we're just going to hate the hell out of this film. I've not seen it. I know of it. I already know how the last shot of the film is. I am not excited to watch this. I don't think Brian's excited to watch this, but we will have it on the show for you. So those are our 5 films. Figure out what the hell they are. Until next time, I'm Sean Wasserkrug. That is Brian Michaels. We are the Weekend Crusaders. And until next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.